Hi, this is Juliet. Welcome back to my studio. This is an intro to a couple of videos I've put together showing you different ways of making leaves. They include leaf beads and leaves on head pins. I use a variety of different leaf pressing tools and patterning techniques with frits and glass, and some of them are designed to be constructed off mandrel with a bail. Some of them are on a mandrel where the bead becomes the hanger and it has the leaf off of it. The others are on head pins, and I use a variety of different kind of presses. You can see this style versus this style, and this one here is a different one, and this is yet another one. So there's a whole number of ways you can make leaves. So make sure you click like and subscribe, and there will be a set of 4 of these coming out in the coming days. Thanks for viewing. Okay, so the first bead I'm going to show you is the kind that we make on a mandrel, and it's actually a bead. It's with a leaf hanging off it. So I like to kind of finger polish my bead release before I put it in the flame. It gets rid of any thick bumps. I find it a little bit easier to get the beads off of it. So just a little hint. And I use Foster Fire bead release. It goes on fairly thin. I tend to use the little mandrels, and I find it works pretty well on those. So we're going to start with some clear, and for this bead I'm going to use the Val Cox Montmartre blend Frit. So I'm just heating up my mandrel and heating up some glass. And I'm going to just start by winding on a small round base bead. Nothing magical here. And of course, you know, if you want to make a big pendant focal bead, you could make this all larger on a thicker mandrel. I tend to work pretty small and incorporate my pieces into jewelry with multiple things in a set. So the next step I'm going to do is take this and dip it in my frit and pick up a little bit, just so that the the hanging part, the bead part, has some similar coloration to the rest of the leaf. And that way it looks sort of like the stem and it's joined and it's part of it. But obviously you can do whatever you want. Okay, so while that's firming up a little bit, I just melted in the frit. I'm rounding it up. And now I'm taking my glass rod, and I'm just using, this one is 004, just regular Frit clear. You can use super clear or whatever clear you want. Since you're going to be covering it with frit, it's not really critical, you know, what kind of clear you're using. So I'm going to gather something a little bit bigger than a pea, but not as big as a grape. And I'm going to find the spot on my round bead where I want to place it. I think I want to leave that purple on the top, so I'm going to put a little bit of heat so that these will do a hot join. Place it on there, and just kind of get the glass off the rod onto the bead. Just wind it off and let gravity kind of help me pull it down a little bit. I don't want it to fall off, but I don't want it to completely mash into the bead either. I'm going to add a little bit more glass there. Okay, that's about the right amount of glass for the size of bead I'm going for, the size of leaf. So I'm going to get it hot on all sides, and then I'm going to pick up some frit with it. And I have these little stainless steel Japanese soup spoons that I use for frit. They're kind of handy. You can pick them up and touch the mandrel in all directions. Sometimes I use an au jus bowl. That takes a lot more frit to kind of fill it up so you can get the mandrel down in there. So lately I've been using these, which are kind of fun. So now I'm going to melt this frit in. I want to make sure my base bead stays warm, doesn't crack off, and there's plenty of heat coming here, so I don't need to really hit it too much. Again, I want not to like totally melt this into a blob and have it become a bigger bead. I want to have this part hanging down, but I don't want it so hot it hangs down and falls on my workbench either. So now at this point you can either leave the frit as is, or you can kind of mix it up a little bit. I sometimes take my tungsten tweezers and I give it a little bit of twist just to get a little bit of motion and blending of the frit. It sort of depends on what kind of frit you're using and how blended you want it to be. Now I'm going to heat that up and get it back into a bit of a molten blob. And then for this one, I'm going to mash it with these pliers that have this radial thin pattern, shape pattern, leaf pattern. This is a very versatile tool. It's useful for a whole lot of different things, leaves being one of them. Shells, it's great for shells too. So now I've got this hot, and the next thing I need to do is I need to decide, do I want the leaf to go this way relative to it or that way relative to the bead hole? So you need to think about how you're going to use this, whether you're going to put a cord through it and you want it to lay flat on the chest, or if you're going to have like a jump ring through it, are you going to attach it to earrings? So think about which way you want the hole to go relative to the bead. So I'm going to just give it a quick mush. And now you can see those lines in it. So now the next step is I need to lengthen it and pull it out to a point. You can leave it as this shape if you want, but it's not particularly leaf shape. It looks a little more shell. What I'm doing is very gently heating it. And I want to heat it enough so when I pull the point, it's pulling the whole length, not just pulling a bit of glass off the point. But I don't want to heat it so much that I lose all those lines. So you can take your pliers and pull it down and lengthen it. You can see it's lengthening a little bit. It kind of thinned the whole shape out. You can also take a piece of glass and use that to pull the point down and give it a little bit more heat. I'm going to take some glass, attach it to the point, and pull that down. So this is a cold join, so it won't join for real long. You can kind of wiggle it and pull it until you get it about the right length and aspect ratio. Sometimes I often come in when I have that little point down there just to get the frit lines to line up, and I'll just kind of pull off a little bit of waste and put it in my water bowl until I get just a nice little point on there, and you can see how it sort of pulls the frits down and makes it look nice and pretty. Now at this point, if you have a reduction frit, you want to reduce it. So you put a little bit of insurance heat into the glass bead. If it's going to break, it's likely to break in that join there because you've been spending so much time focusing on the leaf part. So I'm going to just turn down my oxygen. I didn't adjust my propane. I just turned down the oxygen. You can see the candles. It's got a little bit more of a reducing flame. And I'm just gently kind of wafting it through in a couple of directions, looking for that metallic sheen. Maybe give it a little bit more reduction. And bring out some of the shine and the metallics from the Montmartre frit, which I really, really love this frit. Okay, so there we go. I don't know if you can see it too well in the camera, but there you have some nice little reducing things. And right now at this point, we're just going to go pop it in the kiln.
These beads are such a versatile design, and they come out fantastic in any color palette that you choose to use. They're really great for using to make pairs of earrings, as well as different decorative pieces in jewelry. It really makes an exciting set to look at because there's longer pieces mixed in with the shorter beads. It can be really appealing to the eye. You can also use this same press technique to create leaf beads lengthwise along the mandrel instead of suspended off of it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this leaf tutorial. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and check out the full playlist that incorporates 4 different leaf bead designs. Happy fall season!